Let me tell you a story. This is the story of a man named Carlos. Carlos is not famous. He is not rich. He is a normal person, like many of us. Carlos works in a small hotel. The hotel is simple and clean. It is not a luxury hotel, but many people come every day. The people are tourists. They come from many countries. They come from the United States. They come from Canada. They come from Europe. And they all speak English. Every morning, Carlos goes to work. He wakes up early. He gets dressed. He puts on his uniform. Then he goes to the hotel. Carlos stands at the front desk. He looks at the door. He waits for the guests. When Carlos hears English, something happens. His body changes. His heart beats fast. His hands feel cold. His mouth feels dry. English makes Carlos feel afraid. Carlos knows some English words. He knows hello. He knows good morning. He knows thank you. But when people speak in full sentences, he feels lost. The guests speak fast. The words come quickly. The sounds mix together. Carlos listens, but he does not understand. He tries to focus. He tries to remember words, but his mind feels empty. So Carlos smiles. He nods his head. He says yes many times. Inside, he is confused. Inside, he is nervous. Sometimes he thinks, what are they asking me? What do they need? Am I making a mistake? Carlos feels embarrassed. He feels small. He feels afraid to speak English. English is like a big wall in front of him. Every day, he sees that wall. He does not know how to cross it. This fear follows Carlos every day. At work, in his mind, in his heart. And this fear is the beginning of his story. One morning, Carlos arrives at the hotel like always. He says hello to his coworkers. He stands behind the front desk. He takes a deep breath. The day starts normal. Guests come in. Guests go out. Carlos smiles. Carlos nods. Then something happens. A woman walks to the front desk. She looks friendly. She has a suitcase. She smiles at Carlos. She speaks in English. Her voice is calm, but fast. The words come one after another. Carlos listens carefully, but he does not understand. He hears sounds. He hears English, but the meaning is not clear. Carlos feels his heart beat faster. His face feels hot. His hands start to sweat. He thinks, stay calm. Focus. Try to understand. The woman looks at him. She waits for an answer. Carlos opens his mouth, but no words come out. So he says, sorry. The woman repeats the question. She speaks a little slower, but still Carlos does not understand. Now there are people behind her. They are waiting. They look at the desk. They look at Carlos. Carlos feels pressure. He feels nervous. He feels very small. He smiles again. He nods again. But inside, he feels terrible. He knows this is a bad moment. He knows he should understand. But he cannot. Finally, a coworker helps. She speaks English. She answers the woman. The woman thanks them and leaves. Carlos stays quiet. That moment stays in his mind all day. He thinks about it again and again. This moment hurts, but this moment will change everything. After that bad moment, the day feels long for Carlos. He continues working. He smiles at the guests. He does his job, but his mind is not calm. All day, Carlos thinks about what happened. He hears the woman's voice in his head. He remembers the words he did not understand. When his workday ends, Carlos goes home. He feels tired. Not only his body is tired, his mind is tired too. Carlos sits on his bed. The room is quiet. There are no guests. There is no noise. Now he can think. He asks himself many questions. Why did this happen? Why do I feel so bad? Why am I so afraid of English? Slowly, Carlos understands something important. The problem is not the woman. The problem is not the hotel. The problem is not the guests. The real problem is English. And English is not going away. English is at his job. English is on his phone. English is on the internet. English is everywhere. Carlos understands another thing. The real problem is not English itself. The real problem is his fear. He is afraid to try. He is afraid to make mistakes. He is afraid to sound bad. Because of fear, he does nothing. Because of fear, he stays quiet. Carlos looks at the wall in his room. He thinks deeply. He says to himself, slowly and clearly, "This cannot continue. This must change." That night, Carlos sees the truth. If he wants a better life, he must face English. This is the moment when everything starts to change. That night, Carlos does not sleep well. He turns in his bed. He opens his eyes. He closes his eyes. His mind is full of thoughts. He thinks about the hotel. He thinks about the guests. He thinks about English. English is always there. Early in the morning, Carlos sits on the edge of his bed. The room is quiet. The sun starts to come in through the window. Carlos takes a deep breath. This time, he does not feel only fear. This time, he feels something new. He feels determination. Carlos speaks to himself. Not loud, but clear. I cannot run from English anymore. I cannot hide. I must do something. He knows learning English will be hard. He knows it will take time. He knows he will make mistakes. But he is tired of fear. He is tired of feeling small. Carlos stands up. He looks at himself in the mirror. He says, "I will learn English. I will not stop. I will try every day." This decision feels strong. This decision feels real. Carlos does not know how he will learn. He does not know where to start. But one thing is clear. From this day, Carlos chooses action over fear. And with this decision, a new chapter of his life begins. The next day begins like any other day. Carlos wakes up. He gets ready for work. But something is different. Inside Carlos, there is a small change. It is not big. It is not loud. But it is real. After work, Carlos goes home. He sits down with his phone in his hand. He feels tired, but he remembers his decision. He opens the internet. He opens YouTube. He thinks for a moment. Then he types simple words. English for beginners. Many videos appear. Carlos feels nervous again, but he clicks one video. A calm voice starts to speak. The voice speaks slowly. The words are simple. "Hello. Good morning. How are you?" Carlos listens. He listens very carefully. He does not understand everything, but he understands some words. He listens again, and again, and again. Then Carlos tries something new. He repeats the words out loud. His pronunciation is not good. His voice sounds strange to him, but he continues. "Hello. Good morning. How are you?" Carlos feels uncomfortable, but he also feels proud. He studies for 10 minutes, then 15 minutes, then 20 minutes. His head feels tired, but his heart feels strong. This is his first step. It is small, but it is important, and this small step begins his journey. Carlos continues studying English every day. Some days are good. Some days are very hard. English is not easy for him. Carlos forgets words. Carlos mixes words. Carlos says words wrong. Sometimes he listens to a video, and he understands nothing. He stops the video. He feels frustrated. He sighs. He thinks, "Why is this so difficult? Why am I so slow?" Carlos tries to speak, but the words do not come out right. His pronunciation sounds bad. He feels embarrassed, even when he is alone. Some days, Carlos wants to stop. He wants to quit. He wants to say, "This is not for me." But then, he remembers the hotel. He remembers the woman. He remembers his fear. Carlos understands something important. Making mistakes is part of learning. Everyone makes mistakes. No one learns without mistakes. So, Carlos changes his thinking. He says to himself, "It is okay to be wrong. It is okay to sound bad. I am learning." He continues listening. He continues repeating. He continues trying. Mistakes do not stop him now. They teach him. After many days of practice, Carlos changes his routine. English becomes part of his life. Every morning, Carlos listens to English. He listens while he eats breakfast. He listens while he drinks his coffee. The words enter his ears slowly. Some words are new. Some words sound familiar. Carlos does not stop the audio. He lets it play. He lets English flow. When Carlos walks to work, he listens again. He uses his phone. He uses his headphones. Cars pass by. People walk around him. But Carlos listens to English. At work, Carlos hears English from the guests. Now, it does not sound so strange. It does not sound so scary. After work, Carlos listens again. At night, in his room, before sleep, he does not understand everything. And that is okay. His ears are learning. His brain is learning. English is now part of his day. Not once, but many times. Little by little, Carlos feels a change. English is still difficult, but it feels closer. One morning, Carlos arrives at the hotel. He feels a little tired, but he also feels calm. The day begins like always. Guests come in. Guests go out. Then, a man walks to the front desk. The man looks friendly. He smiles at Carlos. The man says, "Good morning." Carlos hears the words. The words are clear. The words are familiar. Carlos understands. For a second, Carlos is surprised. Then he smiles. He answers slowly and clearly, "Good morning." The man smiles again. He nods his head. It is a simple moment. It is a short moment. But for Carlos, this moment is very big. His heart feels warm. His fear is smaller. Carlos thinks, "I understood. I answered." This is his first victory. It is not perfect. It is not long. But it is real. And Carlos knows something now. He is learning English. After that small victory, something changes in Carlos. He feels more confident. Not a lot, but enough. Now, when guests speak to him, Carlos does not freeze. He listens carefully. He looks at their faces. He listens to the tone of their voice. When Carlos speaks, he speaks slowly. He uses simple words. Very simple words. "I help you." "One moment, please." This way. Sometimes his sentences are not perfect. Sometimes the grammar is wrong. But the guests understand him. They listen. They wait. They are patient. Carlos sees this, and it helps him. His fear is still there, but it is weaker. Every day, Carlos tries a little more. Every day, he speaks a little more. He stops hiding. He stops avoiding English. Carlos understands something important. Confidence does not come first. Practice comes first. And with practice, confidence grows. One day, the hotel is very busy. More busy than usual. Many guests arrive at the same time. Many guests have questions. Many guests speak English. Carlos stands at the front desk. He looks at the line of people. His heart starts to beat fast. This day is hard. A guest asks a question. Then another guest asks a question. Then another one. Carlos feels pressure. He feels stress. Some guests speak fast. Some guests speak loud. Carlos does not understand everything. Sometimes he asks them to repeat. Sometimes he makes mistakes. His head feels full. His body feels tired. For a moment, Carlos feels the old fear. The fear from before. But this time, he does something different. He takes a deep breath. He stays calm. He listens. He answers with simple words. He does his best. The day feels long. Very long. But at the end of the day, Carlos is still standing. He is tired, but he did not give up, and that makes him proud. After the hard day, Carlos feels exhausted. He sits down for a moment. He breathes slowly. A co-worker comes close to him. She looks at him and smiles. She says, "You did well today." Carlos is surprised. He did not expect those words. The co-worker speaks English well. She knows Carlos is learning. She says, "Your English is better now." Carlos feels shy, but he also feels happy. The coworker offers help. She says they can practice together. During breaks, they speak simple English. Very simple. They make mistakes. They laugh. There is no fear. There is no pressure. Carlos learns something important. He is not alone. Learning is easier with support. With help, English feels lighter. English feels possible. Weeks pass. Then months pass. Carlos continues learning English every day. Not fast, but constant. Now, when Carlos listens to English, he understands more. Not everything, but enough. He understands simple questions. He understands common words. He understands basic sentences. At work, Carlos feels different. He feels more relaxed. When guests speak to him, he listens without panic. He answers with calm. He answers with simple English. Carlos sees the change. His coworkers see the change. English is still difficult, but it is not scary anymore. Carlos feels proud of himself, not because he is perfect, but because he did not quit. This is real change. Slow, but strong. One afternoon, the hotel manager talks to Carlos. He asks Carlos to come to his office. Carlos feels a little nervous. He does not know why. The manager looks at him and smiles. He speaks calmly. He says he has noticed something. He says he has seen Carlos change. The manager says, "You're doing a good job. Your English is better. You help the guests." Carlos listens carefully. He feels surprised. He feels proud. The manager gives Carlos more responsibility. He trusts him more. This is a new opportunity. Carlos understands something important. English opens doors. English creates chances. All the effort was worth it. One quiet evening, Carlos sits alone. The day is over. The hotel is calm. Carlos thinks about his journey. He remembers the fear. He remembers the confusion. He remembers the silence. He remembers the day he did not understand. He remembers the bad moment at the front desk. Carlos looks at himself now. He speaks. He tries. He understands more. He is not the same person. Carlos feels proud. Not proud because he is perfect, but proud because he changed. English did not change overnight. Carlos changed slowly, and that makes all the difference. Carlos continues learning English. Every day, little by little. He listens in the morning. He listens at night. English is part of his life now. Carlos knows something important. Learning never ends, and that is okay. He is not afraid of English anymore. English is not his enemy. Now, English is a tool for work, a tool for life. Carlos looks forward. He thinks about the future. He knows there will be more challenges. He knows there will be more mistakes. But he is ready. And now, Carlos wants to say something to you. If I can learn English, you can learn English too. This is not the end. This is just the beginning. You are here because you want to learn English. Maybe you feel fear like Carlos. Maybe you feel confused. Maybe you think English is too hard. But you're not alone. Learning English is possible. Step by step, day by day. If you want to improve your listening, if you want simple stories, if you want basic English you can understand, then stay with us. Subscribe to Back to English Now. Listen to the videos. Listen again and again. Every video helps you. Every story makes you stronger. Do not stop. Keep learning. Keep listening.